How's it going, everyone? Regulation MB is live on Showdown, and there are a lot of Pokemon and even items that might just break the Champions of your tier. So, today I'm going to be talking about all these things, share my thoughts, and see what all these Pokemon can do, and what their impact will be on the tier, right? I have all the megas added in this box, all the new megas, and also some Pokemon that are going to be very key and very important in the tier, like Goldengo and Annihilate and Grimmsnarl. So we're gonna talk about all of them. Now there are a lot more Pokemon that were added, right, with Regulation MB, but I'm not gonna go over all of them because most of these Pokemon are pretty useless when it comes to OU. Things like a regular Pyro or a regular Mawile or Vileplume or Quillfish, these things are just not good. So there's no point in talking about them. I will talk about all the items, right? Because there are some significant items like Light Clay and Life Orb and weather increasing items, right? And like Expert Bell. So these items definitely change the dynamic. These items make a lot of Pokemon way more useful. So we're gonna go over them. Let's get started with Mega Barbaracle first. Now this Pokemon changes its typing from water to fighting after Mega Evolving, which is honestly good because now it gets a really powerful stab move in close combat, and on top of that this move is boosted by Tough Claws, which is its ability even after Mega Evolving. So like, yeah, you get a really powerful stab close combats. You have a really good start spread. I honestly quite like the start spread because they didn't really waste any of its points in special attack. Its special attack goes from 54 to 64, so that's only 10 points wasted there, and all of its other starts except HP get a ton of buffs, right? Like its speed goes from 68 to 88, its attack goes from 105 to 140, and then its defense and special defense also gains buffs. So that's pretty good, especially for a Pokemon that can learn Shell Smash, right? The Shell Smash has always been Barbaracle's thing, and now with its Mega Evolution you are becoming faster, you are powerful, so you can abuse this even further. Now I do have some issues with Mega Barbaracle. The first one is that its only move that actually gets boosted by Tough Claws is Close Combat, because its other stab moves are rock moves, and rock moves are never contact. They're rarely any contact moves. Like Stone Edge is its strongest rock move, and it's not gonna get boosted by Tough Claws. And now you would think that you can run something like Liquidation that may get boosted by Tough Claws, but unfortunately the problem with Barbaracle is that it is heavily reliant on the move Earthquake, because if you don't run that, you're gonna get completely walled by Goldengo and Aegislash, two Pokemon that are going to be top tier in any meta, right? They are going to be at the top. So if you ignore those, you're gonna be at a disadvantage. So you always have to run Earthquake so you can deal with them. But still, you do definitely one-shot defensive Garchomp or a defensive Corviknight after +2 with close combat, so that's pretty good. You deal with Rotom, you deal with Slowking Galar with Stone Edge or Earthquake, and you can also deal with Skeledirge, which is a physical unaware Pokemon because you have a stab super effective Stone Edge, right? So that's pretty good. There's definitely the issue of unaware Cleffables. If people start using unaware Clefable, it will be a little harder to sweep with this thing because Stone Edge doesn't really do much to an unaware Clefable. I feel like this Pokemon isn't going to be something that's super high up on the tier list. Like it's not going to be an S tier Mega or anything, because at the end of the day, it has to click Shell Smash, right? If you can't do that, then you're not going to be able to do anything with it. It's not like Mega Charizard X, which even without Dragon Dance hits like a truck, and it's faster than Barbaracle, and its offensive typing is better. Fire and Dragon is insane, and on top of that it cannot get burned. So like, yeah, those things push Mega Charizard X way above Barbaracle. But still, this Pokemon definitely has potential, right? Moving on, Mega Blaziken. Now this Pokemon needs to get banned. I don't know. I guess they just wanted to allow everything right now, which I get. It's only been like 12 hours since the update happened. So like, yeah, everything is allowed right now, but Mega Blaziken is a Pokemon that will not stay. It will get banned. It's a fire type that's insanely fast and insanely powerful, right? Base 160 attack start with speed boost. You don't really have to worry about speed. You can just run Adamant Nature and rip everything with Flare Blitz or Close Combat or any other coverage move, and then you also have Swords Dance. I mean, look at Mega Charizard X. That thing breaks after a Dragon Dance, Now Blaziken, not only it's raising its speed, but it's getting +2 boost in its attack because you're running Swords Dance, and you don't have to worry about your speed because you're just getting a speed raise no matter what you do. So think about that, right? And you're also a fire type, so you cannot get burned, and you're also not weak to Stealth Rock like Charizard because you have a fighting type. So yeah, you take neutral damage from Stealth Rock. So combine all those things and you'd realize this Pokemon is broken and needs to be banned, needs to go away. This thing cannot be allowed in any tier that is not Ubers filled with legendaries, right? Moving on, Mega Dragalge. Now this is a Pokemon that's very interesting and might be a pretty good Pokemon overall in the meta, because Mega Dragalge gets Regenerator, which is really good for a Pokemon that's this bulky, right? It has a base 163 SPDEF start, 105 defense. Its HP is a little low, but you can definitely mitigate that because you obviously have Regenerator and your defensive typing is insanely good. Poison and Dragon is an amazing defensive typing. You can tank a lot of hits and you can flip turn out because it gets flip turn, so you can switch out, bring your breaker or anything, heal your Pokemon. That's pretty good. It's a T-Spike absorber. It also runs Toxic Spikes. It also runs Toxic, so you can use that stuff. It's like a Slowking Galar that is a little more powerful and has an overall better defensive typing, but it can't run an item. So I'm not sure, like, on the tier list where would you put it, but I think it will be definitely useful. One thing that comes to mind Dragalge can do is it can wall Raichu Y. Everybody knows about Raichu Y, right? It gets no guard, it can spam 100% accurate Zap Cannons, 100% accurate Focus Blast without worrying about anything. But Dragalge is a Pokemon that can actually completely wall a Raichu Y because it doesn't learn any move that it can use to hit Dragalge. Alluring Voice, Grass Knot, Surf, you resist all of those. And like, yeah, Zap Cannon, Focus Blast, you resist that as well. And you can retaliate with really powerful Draco Meteors or Sludge Waves or whatever. So like, yeah, there's definitely this kind of use for this Pokemon, but we'll see how this fares. It also has Dragon Tail, so you can phase stuff. It also has Haze. If you want to use that against Golding and stuff, that could work. So yeah, it doesn't get T-Wave unfortunately like Slowking Galar. That would have been pretty good as well. But yeah, definitely has potential. You can obviously pre-Mega, you can also take advantage of adaptability pre-Mega and like just dish out damage, or you can even take advantage of Poison Point, right? Anything that touches it will get poisoned, which could be very helpful for or any physical attack. Like Meowscarada clicking U-turn, you can go into a Dragalge and maybe fish for a poison, right? That's something. You can even run physically bulky Dragalge and it will probably work. It walls Sneasler, which is a big plus, right? Walling Sneasler is pretty big. I'm glad this thing got regenerated. I mean, I feel like Dragalge has always been a Pokemon that felt like it was built for regen, but it never got it. So they finally did it. Nice. Moving on, we have Electros Mega. This thing is funny because they gave it a signature ability called Elevate, which is basically Levitate plus Beast Boost, right? It's immune to any ground things or anything on the ground, right? And it gets a boost in its highest start whenever it gets a KO. So it's a combination of Levitate and Beast Boost, and they decided to name it a very funny and comic-y name, that's Elevate. now in Legends OU, when that tier was active, right, and we were speculating abilities, they actually ended up nailing this thing's ability because they had given it Levitate plus special attack raise, 1.5 special attack raise, regular, like you always have that special attack raise. And the fact that Game Freak decided to do a very similar thing to this, where they just combined two abilities, is kind of just insane. I don't know, it's very funny to me. But like, yeah, Mega Electros does get a lot of boosts overall in its speed. Does it get a boost in its speed? Actually, I'm not sure. Yeah, 50 to 80, that's a big boost in its speed, and its bulk remains the same except the SPDEF going from 80 to 90, but it gets a huge raise in its offensive starts now. Does that make this thing a good Pokemon? Not exactly, but it can be useful. It's not going to be a top tier Mega because it's just slow. It doesn't have reliable setup, right? Its Physical attack start is higher than special, but its physical move pool is pretty bad for electric type. Like electric type physical attackers have always been historically bad, unless it's like an Iron Hat that has close combat and stuff. But like, yeah, it doesn't get Ice Punch or anything to deal with the Garchomp, which is pretty bad for a Pokemon like this. It does have Coil and Bulk Up, but still, even if you use them, your strongest electric move is Supercell Slam, I think. That's what it is. You don't get Wild Charge, do you? You do, but it's I don't think you want to run Wild Charge. You either run Thunder Punch or Supercell Slam. And then there's Knockoff, there's Fire Punch. You do have a lot of coverage. Even on the special side, your coverage is insane with like Volt Switch, Giga Drain, Flamethrower, Dragon Pulse. But still, overall, it's going to be hard to break bulky Pokemon. Like, how do you break a Slowking if you're running a special set, right? Because you can't boost your special attack. You have to run Knockoff to actually damage Slowking. So there's definitely issues. And if you run a physical set, Garchomp is a pretty big issue for you. You can use this in like maybe screens with Coil or Bulk Up. Maybe you can... Coil is probably better. Why would you run Bulk Up? Coil gives you accuracy boost, so your Supercell Slam doesn't miss. Like, yeah, you can run maybe it in Sticky Web, and if you end up getting a KO, then you can probably Snowball because you get a special attack raise, and that's going to be pretty good. But still, not the best Mega Pokemon, and I think it's just going to be a gimmicky thing that you might be able to make a work in a good team, in a team built around this Pokemon. Mega Phalanx. This thing gets defined after Mega Evolving, which is the same as its pre-Evo, and I think it's fine. That's a pretty good ability overall for this Pokemon. I'm glad it didn't get something useless like, I don't know, No Guard, like Mega Holocha. I mean, yeah, at least it has ability that it can use, because in the future, if like Landorus comes out, right, you will be able to get a boost through its Intimidate. That would be pretty good. And No Retreat is obviously an amazing setup move. I honestly quite like No Retreat, being able to raise all of your starts even if you're not able to switch. It's amazing, because if you're setting up, you already plan to not switch because you just want to go all out, right, spam. So that side effect doesn't really matter most of the time. Like, yeah, you have obviously strong close combat stab moves. You have not special. You have coverage like Knockoff. You have Poison Jab for Fairy types. It's very important actually. I don't think you would run anything else. You need close combat. You need Knockoff. You need Poison Jab. If things like Zapdos or Moltres existed, then you would probably need Rock Slide as well, but they don't right now. That's pretty good for this thing. So you can just run Knockoff, P-Jab, close combat, No Retreat, and probably have a lot of fun, probably get some good games. It has a high speed, it has high attack start, high defense start, which is pretty good. I like that. Special bulk is pretty bad, and that could make setting up with this Pokemon a little harder, because even things like Slowking Galar, if it's clicking Sludge Bomb, assume it's not clicking a psychic move and it's clicking Sludge Bomb, it's still gonna do a lot of damage. So that could be an issue for this Pokemon. But overall, all these fighting type megas like Barbaracle, Phalanx, Mega Holocha, and Mega Scrafty that we will talk about soon, all of these Pokemon have the same kind of issue where Corviknight exists, right? They can get burned. They have a Move-Slut syndrome where you have to check a bunch of things, and then Aegislash and Goldengo do annoy you a lot. And for Phalanx, there's Knockoff. Obviously, it has an advantage, but still, there's definitely like issue like Toxapex. Toxapex is actually a big one, right? You have to run Earthquake if you learn that. You do. Either Zen Headbutt or High Horsepower, you can run that for Toxapex, but still Toxapex is going to be a huge problem for this Pokemon, which is annoying. And then, like, yeah, if you remove P-Jab, then Primarina and Fairy types are going to be a problem. If you remove Knockoff, then things like Goldengo and Aegislash are going to completely wall you. So, yeah, as I said, 4 Move-Slut Syndrome is pretty massive for all these fighting type megas, and there's so many fighting type megas. I don't know why they release so many fighting type megas. It's insane. Chestnut, Barbaracle, Phalanx, Holocha, Scrafty, Staraptor. I don't know, I'm probably missing a couple more. There's just so many mega fighting type megas. It's insane. It's actually insane. Anyway, let's move on to Malamar. Now this Pokemon is funny because I've seen so many people wishing that Malamar gets a good ability. They want Mega Malamar to be good. Honestly, don't know why, but like, yeah, I have seen a lot of people say that, but unfortunately their hopes were crushed because they decided to give this thing contrary, the same thing that it gets pre-mega. And it's honestly pretty bad for Mega Malamar because you can't run something like Rest Chester, right? You have to run a regular Malamar for that. You can't run that with the Mega Stone. So your only viable set is Rest Talk and then Superpower, and then either Psycho Cut or Knockoff. Knockoff is probably better, right? Your only viable set is this. Or you can run 3 attacks and something like Trick Room or something maybe, or some status move it learns. Probably learn something like Destiny Bond, maybe Taunt, maybe that could be pretty good for breaking bulky Pokemon. But overall, there's just not much you can do, right? There's just nothing else you can do. You're not fast, you're not incredibly bulky, you're not incredibly powerful. So like you're kinda in the middle. You don't have any setup moves because of contrary. You can't use Nasty Plot, you can't use Bulk Up, right? Because they're gonna reduce your own stats. So you have to rely on Superpower, which isn't bad. But like, yeah, there are so many ghost types that would wall you. So yeah, it's just hard to rely on Superpower to always give you boost, right? And then there's fairy types like Clefable that completely wall this combination. So what are you gonna do then? What are you gonna do about it? So that's why like Mega Malamar is unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, but this thing won't have any use, at least not in OU. Mega Mawile. Now this Pokemon is, or I should say always has been, a Pokemon that just puts pressure on your team building. It's not going to be a super good S tier Mega, but it's just gonna put pressure on your team building, and whenever you face this thing on the ladder, you're just gonna get annoyed because it's that powerful. It's annoying, it has Sucker Punch, right? And if you see this in a Trick Room team, it's gonna become faster and deal a ton of damage to all your Pokemon. It has the necessary coverage as well. Now there is a 4 moveset syndrome for this Pokemon because you obviously run Play Rough as your stab move, right? But you need Knockoff for Aegislash and Gholdengo. You need need Earthquake for something like Toxapex. You don't have Thunder Punch or anything, unfortunately, so you have to rely on Fire Fang. Oh wait, actually you do have Thunder Punch. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so you can actually run Thunder Punch to deal with both Toxapex and Corviknight after an SD. That's pretty good. But still, you're super slow. If you want to use this outside of Trick Room, you'll obviously need Sucker Punch, right? Play Rough, Sucker Punch, Thunder Punch, Swords Dance, but then you kind of need a reliable Dart type move that can deal with Gholdengo and Aegislash, so you also need Knockoff. So you want to go Play Rough, Knockoff, Sucker Punch, but then you are annoyed by Corviknight, so I'm not sure what to do. Like, I guess maybe 4 attacks is probably fine. Corviknight probably gets 2-shot from Mega Mobile Thunder Punches, right? Adamant. You can run this in Trick Room, then you probably don't need Sucker Punch as well. You can maybe go SD3 attacks, or just 4 attacks is probably generally better for Mega Mobile. So yeah, it's not something insanely broken, but it's a very powerful Pokemon that is going to be a trouble whenever you face it on ladder, and it's just gonna put pressure on your team building overall. Next up is Mega Metagross, and my boy, they nerfed this Pokemon so hard to make it manageable. I feel like they made it they may have made it somewhat useless in terms of making manageable. I mean, they probably made it manageable for VGC. I mean, obviously they do all the changes for VGC, right? But for singles, those changes are going to hurt this Pokemon a lot because it lost Heavy Slam, which obviously pushed it over the edge. Like it's a base 120 power move because Metagross is insanely heavy. It's heavier than most other Pokemon, so you most of the time just get the highest power, and then it gets boosted by Tough Claws, which is an insanely amazing ability for a Pokemon like Metagross, whose every move is just contact. Unlike something like Barbaracle, you have Bullet Punch, Hammer Arm, Ice Punch, Meteor Mash, Psychic Fangs, Thunder Punch. Everything gets boosted by Tough Claws, so that's pretty good. Now, along with Heavy Slam, they also removed Knockoff from this Pokemon, which is honestly so bad because now you can't reliably handle Gholdengo and Aegislash. You have to rely on Earthquake, which the thing with Knockoff was that even if you use that and you have to use it for Gholdengo and Aegislash, sure, but it's still a pretty useful move overall, right? Because you can remove items. But with Earthquake, it's just going to be there to deal with Aegislash and Goldengo, and you're just not going to be able to use it for anything else significant, right? Which is a problem. And now it does have utility moves like Stealth Rock, which I can see probably work as well. It has agility, so adamant agility sets could work, but then again, 4 move sets in a row is pretty big for this thing, where you need Ice Punch for something like Garchomp, you need Thunder Punch for Toxapex, you need Thunder Punch for Corviknight, and you obviously need your stab move. You also need priority. Psychic Fangs is also actually pretty good with this thing because it destroys screens, and screens are going to be insanely good in the meta now that Goldengo is back. So you can block defog from the only reliable defog, Corviknight. You can completely wall Corviknight. So yeah, screens are going to be busted, right, with Light Clayback, and a Pokemon that can actually break those screens using Psychic Fang is going to be very useful, I'd say. But overall, it doesn't have a way to boost its attack stat because they removed Power Up Punch. I think they removed Power Up Punch way back. I'm not sure. Did they remove Power Up Punch now or in Gen 9? I should actually check that. Let me see. Did this thing have Power Up Punch in Gen 9? Well, I should probably check Metagross, right? Nope, they removed Power Up Punch. Yeah. So yeah, they removed Power Up Punch pretty far back, right? I think they may have removed in Gen 8 too. So like, yeah, not without Power Up Punch, you just don't have a way to boost your attack stat, right? So yeah, it's definitely going to be hard for this Pokemon to do much. It's still pretty powerful, pretty fast, has a good typing. So we'll see how that fares. But yeah, definitely some significant nerfs for this Pokemon. Next up is Pyro Mega. Now this thing, just like Electros, gets a signature ability called Fire Main. That's a pretty good signature ability because it boosts its special attack moves by fire type moves by 50%. Whenever this thing clicks a fire type move, it will be boosted by 50%, which is pretty good. Now, does that make this Pokemon a good Pokemon? I don't know. I mean, its special attack isn't that high, but with that boosted fire moves, you'll definitely hit pretty hard. You are significantly fast. That's a plus point, right? You're faster than common Pokemon like Meowscarada, Greninja, Sneasler, which is pretty good. But you can't run Scarf, and those Pokemon aren't often Scarf, so that's a problem. Fire Normal is overall good coverage. It would be annoying to deal with the Skeledirge and stuff, but you do get like Scorching Sands, which you definitely want to use because Skeledirge, Chandelure, Cerulege are going to be very annoying for you, so you definitely want to run a Scorching Sands or Dark Pulse. I guess Dark Pulse is probably better, technically. If you just want to handle those ghost types, Dark Pulse is actually better. So Scorching Sands has the advantage of doing something to Tyranitar because this thing is completely walled by Tyranitar. You just don't have anything. But you can run Wisp to burn that, so there's definitely something like that. I feel like the sets that Pyro would want to run is something like Fire Blast, so you have a really powerful nuke, right? Hyper Voice, so you have a reliable stab move, and then you want to run Taunt and Wisp, something like that, right? Like Taunt plus Wisp, you can do that, so you burn the T-Tar and click Taunt on something like Toxapex, so you can keep it low, click Taunt on something like Slowking, so that you can prevent it from clicking T-Wave or Chilly Reception. And considering that, you can actually also run Fire Spin with Taunt, so that you can trap both Toxapex and Slowking Galar, prevent them from switching, taunt them so they can't status you with Toxic or T-Wave and can't switch out, and then you can just spam Fire Main boosted Fire Blast or Hyper Voice in case of Toxapex. So that's a strat that I feel like might be able to work. We'll see. Just a strat to remove those bulky specially defensive Pokemon. But like overall, it doesn't have much going for it, right? You either want to do that, or you can run Scorching Sands Taunt, or you can run Scorching Sands Wisp, just like how I used Chandelure, right? I used Chandelure with 2 attacks, with 3 attacks and Wisp. Same thing you want to do with Pyro. It's a little faster, and like yeah, it has stronger fire moves, but that's about it. Next up is Raichu X, Mega Raichu X. This thing gets Electric Surge after Mega Evolving, which is a good ability, but unfortunately they didn't release Seeds. So you can't use an unburdened Sneasler or unburdened Holocha as sweepers. Uh, Regardless, this thing is decently fast with 110 speed and has a good attack stat in 135. The problem for Raichu Mega X is that guard jump exists, right? So you can't really do anything to ground types because your special attacks isn't that high, so you can't really abuse something like Surf or anything. And then you just can't do anything to things like Gliscor or Hippowdon. And even with guard jump, if you have Play Rough, it doesn't two-shot a guard jump, not a defensive guard jump, and it can just retaliate with Earthquake and KO you. Your bulk isn't that high. It's better than Raichu Y, which is insanely frail. It's like a pure glass cannon, but still, even with those base 95 defenses, Raichu X's HP is super low. Base 60 does not cut it in this meta. So like, yeah, it's not gonna be that useful. You have coverage moves like Drain Punch or Knockoff and all that. You can run Volt Tackle as your strongest stab move as a physical attacker overall. One thing that does come to mind that may be pretty good for Raichu Mega X, and that is Rising Voltage, right? You have a base 90 special attack which isn't that high, but with Electric Terrain and then Rising Voltage, stab Rising Voltage, it's actually going to do a ton of damage to non-ground types, right? So there's definitely this type of set that may work. We'll find out. I mean, you may also just be able to do this, right? Rising Voltage, Volt Switch, Knockoff probably, so that you can damage and remove items, and then some other coverage move, whatever you want to run. And this might be able to do something. We'll see. Now, on the contrary, Mega Raichu Y is something that might be really good or really bad. We don't know. Because the thing is that I actually tried using Mega Raichu Y when these Pokemon were just added, right, earlier today. I tried using this in a screen steam, and I realized that the biggest problem for Mega Raichu Y is that whenever it gets a KO, it just gets revenge killed. It's so frail that it's super easy to just revenge kill it after a KO. You can sack a mon and then just revenge kill it, and yeah, it's over, right? Raichu Y is dead. It can't survive any move from any Pokemon, honestly. It's so frail, especially on the physical side. Base 55 and 60, you're just gonna get nuked in any neutral move, no matter what. And then there are obviously Pokemon like Meowscarada and Dragapult that are fast. Like Scarf Meowscarada, I mean Sneasler, and there's King Gambit that can Sucker Punch you, right? Aegislash that can tank ahead and damage you, or like just Shadow Sneak you. So like Samurott can Sucker Punch you. So there are like a lot of stuff that just ends up revenge killing you, and that was the biggest problem. Now, despite all that, this Pokemon is still like really powerful, right? Base 160 special attack is insane, and then 100% accurate zap cannons that paralyze every time it hits are insanely broken, because if you try going something like Dragapult that can resist all of its moves and switch in front of Raichu Y, right, you're just gonna get hit by zap cannon and you're gonna become slower, and then you get revenge killed by something like Alluring Voice. So it definitely has pretty good coverage with Alluring Voice, Surf, Focus Blast, and Grass Knot. And on top of that, you're spreading paralysis on anything that's not a ground type, and you're super fast, faster than most of the non-scarfed meta, so that's a big plus as well. And then you can also run Substitute to make your predictions easier, so you don't have to always rely on making a read, right? For example, you want to Focus Blast and a Charladon, but the opponent can go into Dragapult. You can actually Substitute and then Alluring Voice them. So things like that definitely make this pretty annoying to deal with. And in my opinion, I feel like the best set this thing will have is 3 attacks Volt Switch. I think that is going to be the best set. You can even run Modest, or you can go Timid, whatever you feel like. I feel like Modest is pretty viable because most of the Pokemon that are slow, that you want to outspeed with Timid, things like Sneaslers, Meowscarada, Greninja, they're always scarfed, right? So there's not really any point in outspeeding them. And it's the same thing that I said for Mega Holocha as well, right? You don't really need to run Jolly because you don't outspeed fast Pokemon that are Scarf, and then you outspeed significant Pokemon like Garchomp and Mega Float anyway while being Modest. With Mega Raichu, if you're Modest, you can even outspeed anything that's base 110 like Mega Metacross by just going 179 and then put the rest 5 points in HP. And then like with Modest Nature, you become insanely powerful, able to two-shot a bunch of stuff. So yeah, that's why I feel like 4 attack set is probably better than Nasty Plot, because once you Nasty Plot and KO something, you're gonna get Revenge Card. At least with 4 attacks, you can just damage something and then just switch out into one of your tanks like Slowking Galar or whatever. And with Slowking Galar, right, you can obviously Chilly Reception out and then bring Raichu in a favorable position and just keep doing the same thing. I mean, this is what Volt Turn is called basically, right? Volt Turn strategies are probably going to be the best thing for Mega Raichu, in my opinion. There was obviously speculation that this thing might get banned. We'll see how that goes. From my initial experience with Nasty Plot, it didn't feel like that powerful, but I think it might be still be on the horizon of getting banned. We'll see. Next up is Mega Sceptile. Now they did buff Mega Sceptile by giving it Earth Power, which is pretty good for VGC, I'd say. But unfortunately in singles, this thing's biggest problem is Corviknight and Skarmory, and this thing has nothing to do to those, at least not on the special side, right? You just don't have any move that can touch Corviknight on the special side, so you are pretty useless as a special attacker. Now as a physical attacker, I've always advocated for Mega Sceptile's physical attack prowess. I've been doing this since the days of Pro, right? The MMO I used to play in the past. Like I've used Swords Dance Mega Sceptile so many times in that game, and I've always said that physical Mega Sceptile is better than special because you can actually raise your attack start and then you have good coverage like Earthquake and Thunder Punch that you can use to deal with Corviknight, and Earthquake in case you want to deal with things like Goldingo, Aegislash or Heatran, which doesn't exist in the tier right now. So like yeah, you can go Outrage, Leaf Blade. Did they remove Leaf Blade? No, yeah, Leaf Blade, Earthquake or Thunder Punch. Now still there's obviously the 4 more slot syndrome because you can either deal with Goldingo or Aegislash and Corviknight, and that is why this thing is kind of pretty bad. If in the past I was actually make it work because Magnezone existed, right, in Gen 7 and stuff, so you can just trap Skarmory, remove it, and then your 3 attacks, that is Outrage, Leaf Blade, Earthquake, becomes pretty powerful. It becomes pretty powerful as a sweeper because you're insanely fast as well, right? You are insanely fast, base 145, so you can easily run Swords Dance. You don't have to run something like Dragon Dance or anything and take advantage of that. But without Magnezone, you just have to choose whether you want to deal with Goldingo or you want to deal with Corviknight, and because of that, this thing's going to be pretty useless. It pains me to say this because if you didn't know, Mega Sceptile is actually my favorite Pokemon. I just love this thing's design. It's just so cool, right? That's why I have it on my YouTube channel's banner as well, right? I just love Mega Sceptile, but it's just, I just can't deny the fact that without Magnezone, this thing is pretty useless. So yeah. Anyway, moving on, we have Mega Scolipede. This thing has the same issue as Mega Sceptile. It's even worse because it has no move that can actually deal with Corviknight. It just doesn't, right? Mega Sceptile has Thunder Punch. This thing has nothing. So you're completely walled by Corviknight. You just can't do anything about it. Even if you Swords Dance, your stab moves are not even neutral on Corviknight. They're not very effective. You can't do anything. And they give this thing so much defense, and yet they didn't give this thing body press, which is so weird to me. Like if you're making a Pokemon this defensive, I feel like you should give this body press. If they did, you would actually be able to do something with the whereas it gets Iron Defense. With Iron Defense and body press, you would have actually been able to do something. You can probably run like bulky spread with Iron Defense, body press, one other coverage move, and then have like maybe spikes or something as to just put pressure on the opponent, right? That could have worked. That could have actually worked. But unfortunately, they decided they wanted to make this Pokemon completely useless. They gave it Shell Armor too after Mega Evolving, which is a good ability because you don't get crit, but not for Mega Scolipede. It needed something like Tinted Lens to make it useful. Without that, this thing's pretty useless. You just can't do anything about it. Moving on, Scrafty. This thing is in the same position as all the fighting types Megas I mentioned. You have to run Pija for fairy types. Now it does have Stab Dark moves, which makes it better because you can easily deal with Goldingo and Aegislash, right? Or any other ghost type. But still, this Pokemon is insanely slow So even with the Dragon Dance, you're not gonna be able to take too much advantage because it's just gonna be slow than a lot of faster Pokemon. Now you do have really high bulk, so that could have been useful if they didn't remove Parting Shot from this thing. They unfortunately removed Parting Shot from this guy, or I guess didn't give it, since I don't know if it always had Parting Shot, but I just know it doesn't learn Parting Shot anymore, so you can't really do much as a bulky Pokemon either, right? You can probably wall Goldengo with it, so maybe that's useful, but I don't think so. Like, even if you wall Goldengo, what else are you going to do? You just can't do anything, right? You can knock off items, that's about it, and then you're just gonna be a sitting duck because you can't Parting Shot. You're gonna have to hard switch, which honestly is pretty bad. And then on top of that, you have to run knockoff close combat, and then you have to run P-Jab because fairy types are going to be super annoying. And that means Toxapex is going to be super annoying for you, right? Because you don't have something like Shed Skin. You get Intimidate after Mega Evolving, which isn't the best ability for a sweeper. It would have been good for like a bulky Parting Shot Pokemon, right, as I said, but yeah. Without Shed Skin as a sweeper, you're just not good. So yeah, this thing's just gonna be in lower tiers. Honestly, it just doesn't have any use in OU. At least I don't see anything right now. Next up is Mega Staraptor. Now this is a Pokemon that is kind of making waves in not only singles but also VGC, right? In VGC, I've seen strategies like lowering this thing's stats by using like a Charm Whimsicott or a Charm Mossold, and you can lower Staraptor's attack, but it will raise it because it gets contrary after Mega Evolving, which is pretty good. Now for singles, you obviously can't do the Charm strat, but still, because it gets stab close combats, it does become a fighting type after Mega Evolving, by the way, from normal. You get stab close combats, you can actually raise your defenses, right? And this Pokemon isn't frail, so like raise in base 100 defense and base 100 speed actually matters a lot. And you also have reliable recovery to top that off. Imagine a Cosmic Power Clefable. It's so hard to take that Pokemon out, right? Once it starts clicking those Cosmic Powers. It's very similar with Staraptor, except you're doing damage while getting boosts, and you're also insanely powerful with base 140 attack starts. So yeah, this thing actually has a lot of potential. I feel like this might honestly be pretty good. You have Brave Bird as another stab move, and I think this is a new addition, which is Blaze Kick, which allows it to handle Goldengo and Aegislash, which is awesome because otherwise you would have completely gotten walled by those Ghost Steel types. But now that it has actually is Blaze Kick, you can actually go past them as well while you're also raising your defenses. So yeah, definitely has potential. I feel like Staraptor is going to be a good threatening Mega. Okay, moving on to the final Mega of Regulation MB, and probably the most annoying, threatening, powerful, and game-changing Mega for this meta, and that's Mega Swampert, because it now gets Wave Crash, the move everybody wanted it to get. It finally has it. Wave Crash in Rain from a base 150 attack start are gonna hit like a truck. They are going to hit like a truck. And outside of a couple of grass types like Sinistcha and Rotom, nothing really wants to take Earthquake plus Wave Crash. They just don't, right? There's not a lot of Pokemon that can tank this combination of moves in the tier. The common water types like Primarina doesn't appreciate Earthquake, like Quakerwall doesn't appreciate Earthquake, Toxapex doesn't appreciate Earthquake. And for Meganium and stuff, you can obviously run Ice Punch and also P-Jab. It gets P-Jab since generation 9 or 8, I'm not sure. But yeah, it gets P-Jab, so you can actually run that to deal with Mega Meganium as well, which is pretty good. And then you obviously have coverage like Superpower or Stone Edge if you want to. I don't think you need Stone Edge in the tier right now because Zapdos or anything doesn't exist. And you obviously have Ice Punch as a set. And you also have Stealth Rock, which is pretty good for rain teams because you, at least before, you had to find a significant Stealth Rocker for rain teams like Excuttle, but now you can actually get away with Stealth Rock on Swampert. Also flip turn, right? It gets flip turns, which is pretty good as well, because you can just switch out in front of your checks, bring out a different sweeper, something like Overquill that actually threatens grass types that may want to wall Swampert. So this Overquill plus Swampert synergy is just so incredibly good, right? You can also pair this with Archarodon, which is obviously another broken rain Pokemon. So like, yeah, they're hellbent on just buffing rain. There's so many good things have been released in this Champions meta for rain. Wavecrest Swampert, Overquill, Archarodon, Pelipper, Politoed, Mega Dragonite with Hurricane and Thunder, Mega Meganium, which is an insanely good rain Pokemon because you lower opponent's fire type moves but not your Weather Ball, right? You can ignore the rain whenever you use your own Weather Ball. So like, yeah, I feel like they're intentionally buffing rain for Champions because Sun was so dominant in SV. So I feel like this may be intentional, I don't know. But like, yeah, rain is just gonna pop off because now Damp Rock is also back, right? I did mention that weather increasing items are back, which is insanely good for rain. Rain is just gonna go insane in the meta right now. Everywhere it's just going to be rain, screens, sticky web, and some hyper offense because Goldingo is back, Light Clay is back, and weather increasing items is back. Are back. So like, yeah, meta is just gonna become insanely offensive until some significant bans happen, and one of them is obviously Mega Blaziken. You want to remove that thing, and also Goldingo, you also want to remove that thing because we do not want to handle this hazard stacking meta where boots don't exist and Goldingo just can block any removal attempts. And also Light Clay is something that might get banned. It's on the horizon of discussions, even just like 12 hours after the meta, because it's just so broken, right? You have so many offensive Pokemon, no way to remove screens because Goldingo blocks everything, and then you have so many good screen setters, which I guess I should just talk about now that we're done with Swampert. And yeah, when it comes to screen setters, Grimmsnarl is back. It gets both screens and taunt, so you can easily get screens up, and then it has parting shot, so you can just parting shot out and get setup opportunities for your Pokemon like Mega Charizard X, Mega Delphox, or Mega Raichu Y, or Blaziken, or anything else, right? Mega Barbaracle, anything you want to set up with, you can easily take advantage of that. There's obviously Surf, which is a little faster, has Glare and stuff, also has Taunt. Serperior is a screen setter. There's obviously Ninetales that can get Aurora Veil with Light Screen, which is going to be pretty good. So like, yeah, screens has just become insanely good in the meta right now, and I feel like Light Clay might just get banned because of that. Or at least Goldingo. If Goldingo goes down first, then it will be easier for Corviknight to defog, so maybe Light Clay might be manageable. But with Goldingo, Light Clay gets banned, and I would say ban Goldingo first, so you can actually see how if Light Clay is still broken or not. But you gotta ban Goldingo, man. And speaking of Goldingo, I actually haven't talked about it, right? Why you need to ban Goldingo. I've been saying that all this time. And let's talk about it. Obviously, its ability, right? It blocks any defog attempts for hazards and screens or sticky web, right? So these strategies are going to be super good in the meta. And even if you use something like a Rapid Spin Excadrill, a Shuca Berry, you can just run like a Shuca Berry Goldingo that can just trade Excadrill with itself. So now your spinner's gone, right? And it's not even Rapid Spin, right? It also blocks Mortal Spin from Glimmora, and you can retaliate KO Glimmora with a single Steel type move like Make It Rain. So yeah, you just have all the coverage. You can run Surf to deal with Excadrill. You obviously have Focus Blast if you want to run Focus Blast for Dark type as well. Your coverage is insane. I mean, Dazzling Gleam, Thunderbolt, and all that, Psyshock. And then Shadow Ball, which is the strongest, or not strongest, like in the sense of power, but like the most spammable. Like, yeah, you can spam Shadow Ball forever. A lot of Pokemon don't have things that can reliably tank Shadow Ball, right? Things like Kingambit and Samurott get chipped eventually, and you obviously have coverage like Dazzling Gleam or Focus Blast to actually threaten them as well. And like, yeah, with Nasty Plot, Shadow Ball spam becomes insanely broken. You have Toxapex that takes a lot of damage. You have Slowking Galar special tanks that takes a lot of damage. And if you want to use Umbreon and stuff, you obviously have to deal with Focus Blast, which is pretty annoying. Now they did nerf Make It Rain quite a bit, because it not only is not 100% accurate now, but it also lowers its special attack by 2 stages instead of 1. But still, despite that nerf, it's still going to be insanely broken. Like, just Nasty Plot Shadow Ball spam is just so broken. I feel like you might not even need to run Make It Rain most of the time, unless you specifically want to deal with fairy types. I think you can just get away with Shadow Ball, Focus Blast, recover Nasty Plot. You can just do that completely fine. It's not gonna affect anything, because Shadow Ball spam is just so good in the meta right now. It did also lose T-Wave, so you can't actually use T-Wave Hex set, but outside of that, because of its ability and because of its synergy with everything else, I feel like this thing just can't stay in the tier right now. There just aren't any Pokemon that want to deal with Goldengo, because it also has an item slot, like, right? Life Orb Shadow Balls can also go crazy. You can two-shot Samurats without worrying about anything, and then you obviously can run things like Colbur, things like Shaka Berry, things like Oka Berry, and just be super annoying. It's insane. It's actually insane. Obviously, Choice Scarf Trick. I forgot about Choice Scarf Trick sets. Yeah, you can run Choice Scarf Trick as well, and just cripple something like Toxapex and be fine. Okay, now we're done with all the megas. Let me just go through all the common regular Pokemon. We talked about Goldengo, Grimmsnarl. Obviously, Overquill with the Swampert in Rain is going to be very useful. Now, this thing doesn't get Mortar Spin like it did in ZA, which is kind of disappointing, but at the same time, this thing is just a Rain Sweeper, right? A pretty good one, because it can threaten grass types, so that's pretty good for Swampert, synergy wise. It also has Swords Dance, so you can easily set up and take advantage of that. You obviously have hazards like Spikes and T-Spikes. If you get a chance, you can get them up. You can click Taunt, as the Taunt dual step can probably do a lot of stuff. Though you do need a water type move to be able to touch King Gambit, which is something. But yeah, still, it's just a good Rain Sweeper, right? It's going to be very useful in Rain overall. Next up is Blaziken. Now, as I said, Mega Blaziken will get banned, but for regular Blaziken, I think this thing can be a very useful, kind of a good sweeper actually. I think it's going to be super good with dual step, protect SD, or just 3 attacks SD, especially in screens. Like, you can easily just get away with setup and just nuke stuff, right? Fire type physical attackers are obviously awesome, and something that can click Swords Dance and raise its speed at the same time. It's just pretty bonkers, right? It also has all the necessary coverage it needs, like Thunder Punch or anything else, right? Earthquake for Toxapex or anything else, Knockoff maybe. So like, you have all the necessary coverage, and you can just go insane with after an SD. You can also run Life Orb, which is going to be super annoying to deal with for things like Slowking Galar or Garchomp or Corviknight or Rotom, right? They don't want to take boosted CCs and Fire Punches. Not Fire Punches, Flare Blitz or Blaze Kick even. So yeah, it's going to be super good. Barbaracle, yeah, I think this thing has potential outside of Mega as well, because you can not only learn Life Orb but also White Herb, right? Like, White Herb can remove your drops, which can be pretty helpful. You can also obviously run Life Orb with screens, right? It's a little slower than Mega, so maybe it's a little better to use the Mega, but you do have the advantage of not wanting to run Earthquake, because you're fine against Goldengo and AG Slash, because your boosted liquidations through Tough Claws and Life Orb after Shell Smash are just gonna be enough to KO them. So like, you can use something else for coverage and maybe take advantage of that. I don't know. I mean, it probably does a lot to Corviknight, but like, it will be vulnerable to Corviknight just surviving a liquidation and just body pressing you. So maybe Mega is probably better. But I think this thing still has potential though, right? Even outside of Mega, especially in hyper offense teams with screens, you can actually take advantage of this. And yeah, finally, the last Pokemon is Annihilate. Now this thing got nerfed, kinda. It lost Final Gambit, which is okay. I mean, it wasn't something super big in singles, right? You can run Choice Scarf Final Gambit sets, but that's about it. But the biggest thing that changed for Annihilate is that Rage Fist now resets after switch out, which is something that honestly should have been there always. I don't know why they decided to not do that initially, because it's a boost, right? Why does something like a boost stay when you switch out? Like a +2 attack start, it resets whenever you switch out. So feel like something that boosts a move power should honestly be the same, but I don't know. They decided they wanted to keep the boost of Rage Fist even after switching out, make the Pokemon insanely broken. And now they have to change it back to make it viable for VGC. But it does affect its viability. Well, not its viability, but it makes it manageable in singles because of that. So you can Dragon Tail it with a Garchomp and you don't have to worry about boosted Rage Fist anymore, right? So yeah, but still this Pokemon is obviously insanely good. It's insanely bulky, powerful, it has Defiant, and it has insane move pool with Taunt and Encore and Bulk Up, so you can run bulky spreads with Taunt, Bulk Up, Encore, and just 2 coverage, because Close Combat Rage Fist is a pretty self-sufficient coverage. You don't really need anything else. The only thing you can't hit with this coverage is something like Zoroark Hisui, a Ghost normal type, but that's not common, so it's fine. Yeah, you don't really need any other coverage. You can just be fine. Tank hits. Once Rage Fist boosts, you can just attack and raise your attack stat with Bulk Up and all that. Rest Chesto is also pretty common, right? So we'll see how this goes. It's also a spin blocker, which is pretty good, right? So with Goldengo gone, I feel like Annihilate is going to be a pretty good spin blocker because it isn't weak to Excadrill. So far, all the spin blockers outside of Sinistcha have been pretty weak to Earthquake, right? Excadrill, right? Chandelure, Aegislash, Skellydirge, or anything else I'm forgetting, but like, yeah, Annihilate isn't actually weak to Excadrill, and on top of that, it actually threatens Excadrill with a super effective fighting move, Drain Punch or something like that. It does get Drain Punch, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's why Annihilate is going to be I think it's going to be you could say it's going to be a top tier mega. And yeah, this is it. These are all the Pokemon that are new and are going to make waves in the meta, I guess. The video has been an hour long. I just want to brush up quickly on the items and what effects they're going to bring, because weather boosting items, we already talked that rain is going to be insane, but other boosting items are also pretty good, especially not hail, but rain and Smooth Rock and Heat Rock, right? Because they boost sun and sand. You could potentially see sand teams with something like maybe Houndstone, which is a new addition. I didn't put it because I think because everyone's so used to running no items for Poltergeist spam, right? So it might not be good. But with the sun though, Venusaur actually becomes viable with sun, because you can run Torkoal or Ninetales with Heat Rock, get your sun up, and now Venusaur actually has a way to deal with Corviknight, and that is Weather Ball inside sun. So you can actually use Chlorophyll Venusaurs and maybe make it work. We'll see, right? It might be able to work. You can also try to do it with Charizard Y, but obviously you need more sun turns, right? So with Heat Rock, you might be able to make a proper Sun Tea with Torkoal, Mega Charizard Y, and a couple other Pokemon. So yeah, Sun might be viable now. You will see. And overall, I mean, Expert Belt obviously helps, right? A ton. Life Orb is gonna make offensive Pokemon even more broken. Things like Cerulege, Life Orb Cerulege can be insane. Garchomp is the biggest Life Orb abuser because now it doesn't have to worry about not being able to damage stuff, right? You can run Life Orb SD Firefang, it's gonna obliterate Corviknight. You can run Life Orb Dragon Claws are gonna obliterate something like Rotom. Life Orb Earthquakes are gonna two-shot Clefable, which is pretty big for Garchomp. So like, yeah, SD Garchomps with Life Orb are going to be super good now. Even for something like Dragonite, Life Orb is pretty good because you can run 4 attacks Dragonite with Dragon Claw, Extreme Speed, Fire Punch, and any other coverage move and just do a lot of damage. And Life Orb Dragapult is obviously something that you can run mixed Life Orb Dragapults with Darts, Draco, Shadow Ball, and a Fire move. That could also work. So like, yeah, Life Orb definitely makes a lot of these Pokemon a lot more viable. And then Light Clay, we already talked about that. And there's, I think these are Wise Glasses and Muscle Band, if I'm correct. Wise Glasses? No. Is that not Wise Glasses? What is that? What kind of glasses is that? I don't know. I feel like that's why glasses, but we'll see. Maybe it's not added yet. I think that's wise glasses and muscle band. I think they forgot to add wise glasses in there. But yeah, wise glasses and muscle band, since there's an item class, if you want to run another boosting item and you can run life orb on a Pokemon, you can run these moves, items, even expert belt as well, and that could be very useful as well. Now, all of these changes don't really affect the meta too much overall, because it's just going to be same Pokemon over again, especially defensive Pokemon, because this update didn't really add any bulky important defensive Pokemon that can change the tide of the metagame. They just didn't. So it's just going to be same Garchomp, Slowking, Corviknight covering the meta, and they just added a bunch of really strong sweepers that are just gonna make the tier kind of a hell, not gonna lie, until some significant bans like Goldengo or Light Clay or Mega Raichu Y or Mega Blaziken or anything else that's broken, right? Maybe even Damp Rock. I don't know, if Rain becomes super annoying, maybe even Damp Rock. They just made the meta way more offensive for Champions OU, and it's just going to be a mess for the couple of days. We'll see. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like it, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.